Hey everyone, my name is Courtney and welcome back to my channel. We are kicking off another weekend reading vlog here. It is the first sunny day today that Chicago has had in like literally ages. I saw a headline the other day about how Chicago has only had one sunny day in like over 40 days. So the sun is out now. I am so excited, especially because it's going to be, as they say, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. There is going to be a flea market down the block, which I went to last year. It was so fun. Tons of local indie artists and makers and vintage curators and food makers as well. There's also going to be another vintage pop-up down the street. So I think Wolf and I are going to get our steps in today and just check out everything that's going on in the neighborhood. I also won a cake from Bon Vivant Cakes here in Chicago. She makes super cool, like intricate designed cakes, and she did a little giveaway and I won one. And it's also my first Mother's Day tomorrow. So it's an exciting weekend. We've got a lot going on. And I'm just really looking forward to spending some time in the sun like a little freaking lizard and spend time with Wolf and my husband and also do a lot of reading in the sunshine. The books that I am reading this weekend are All About Love by Bell Hooks. I am about 100 pages into this already and I've actually been tabbing it as well. I have the pink tabs for quotes in general that I am enjoying, and then I have the blue-green tabs every time she makes comparisons between men and women and the patriarchy and things like that. I do really enjoy this so far. It is very binary, so know that if you decide to pick it up, but I think she does have a lot of interesting reflections on love and how we accept it and give it, and not just like romantic love between partners, but for our communities, for our children, and how a lot of times feelings of being cared for can be confused with love when that's not necessarily always the case. I have been underlining like crazy in here. I think she does have a lot of unique perspectives. I was a little like about the there's a section about like spirituality and things like that. I wouldn't say I am a spiritual person, definitely not a religious person. But when you think about it in the context of, you know, spirituality being into rituals and connecting with the world around you and with your community and things like that, then I guess I am sort of a spiritual person in that way. So it's still interesting to read, even if it's not necessarily something that I think about all the time. And tomorrow for Mother's Day, while my husband and Wolf are at music class, I am going to go to a coffee shop and read for an hour. It is probably like the number one thing that I miss since becoming a mom is I don't have that like free afternoon to go sit down in a coffee shop, enjoy a pastry and a latte, and just read a book. So tomorrow I am going to do that because I've earned it. And I think the book that I will be taking with me for my little excursion, and I might actually start reading it a little bit today as well, is Linea Nigra by Jazmina Barrera. This is translated. It, I think, is more of like an essay, like a long form essay than anything. Even just reading the first page, the writing is stunning. Just how like pregnancy apps, they compare your like growing baby to the size of a fruit, and she was like, they definitely aren't from Mexico because we have so many kinds of fruit of so many different sizes, and how like these American apps are just very generic. So I love it already. I'm thinking it'll give me some good reflections on my first year of motherhood. You know, Wolf is almost a year old in June. So I've just been like thinking a lot about it and my journey coming to this point. I wouldn't say that I ever had that feeling that I was like born to be a mother, and like my decision to choose to be one and to like try to have a baby was really personal, complicated, took a long time. And I'm really happy that we took the time that we did. And since it's Mother's Day weekend, I would just like to put it out there that it is always a pregnant person's choice if they want to carry a pregnancy to term. And I say pregnant people because I think if we are going to talk about reproductive rights, leaving trans people out of the mix, non-binary people out of the mix, it's not just women identifying people that get pregnant and carry pregnancies. So we have to think about everybody, and it should always be a person's right to choose, and not even just in the face of tragedy or like the horrible situations where a pregnancy can occur. Not wanting to be a parent is a simple enough reason to choose not to be pregnant. Those are some thoughts heading into the weekend. I just put Wolf to bed. I'm going to sit in the sun here and read some more of All About Love. I'm going to try not to fall asleep myself. Joe Bob Briggs came back on Shudder, and so we always stay up way too late watching him. If you are a horror fan, strongly recommend it. He's like an old school horror movie host. He does a double feature live on Friday nights and plays the movie, but also gives lots of backstory and context and recaps the whole thing. It's super fun, but they go super late. So I am pretty tired today, but I would just like to keep some momentum going as we tackle the day. I'm really looking forward to it, and I will bring you guys along. Bye. Hey everyone, happy Sunday, happy Mother's Day. If you are a mother or celebrating today, I am so excited that today is my first Mother's Day. Being a mom has honestly exceeded my expectations, and it is so special and fulfilling just seeing the hard work that I put in every day of keeping Wolf alive is paying off in such a huge way. He's such a happy, cute, social baby, and I know that I have a hand in that, so it's really special. And we've had a really great weekend so far. Yesterday I didn't get any footage, but we went to the flea market that was down the street, and there were so many cool vendors, lots of great vintage and unique makers. We went to lunch, and there's just so many cute shops on our street that there was so much happening. The plant store was going crazy. There's a cute occult sort of bookstore across the street. Lots of fun stuff happening there as well. And then we also took a nice long walk so I could boost my steps. Also picked up my cake. It's amazing. It looked beautiful. Today, the good times are going to roll. I think we're trying to get Wolf down for a nap. While he does that, I was going to go to a coffee shop, but I've already had 2 coffees this morning and it's 9:25. So I think I'm gonna go get a mimosa and bring Linea Nigra with me. Yesterday, I finished All About Love by Bell Hooks, and I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I kept imagining what this book would be like if it was written more recently, which is to say that it didn't age particularly well. There's obviously a lot of quotes in here that I really liked, lots of interesting perspective, but there were some like particularly disappointing parts in this, which actually surprised me. And it didn't happen until maybe like 100 pages in. I'm cruising along, I'm highlighting so much, and we could kind of see like towards the end, I wasn't like annotating as much. There's a chapter about greed, and she says that greed is kind of the killer of love, and that we live in this society that is more obsessed with like material things, wealth, etc., than we are with, leading with our hearts and pursuing deep connections with people and putting ourselves out there, and how like love has sort of taken the back burner compared to like gaining more. And in that, she chooses to also be very victim blamey about Nicole Brown Simpson and Monica Lewinsky. Nicole Simpson, she mentions by name. She says that nobody was talking compassionately without blaming the victim, that Nicole Simpson had kept herself and her children in a dangerous, life-threatening environment, in part because she was not willing to sacrifice her attachment to a superficially glamorous lifestyle among the rich and the famous. And so it's like, not to victim blame, but here I'm gonna victim blame. Like, that was such a record scratch moment for me, where I was like, really? Like, that's the take we're going to have about a murder victim? And I just think that we have so much better language about those sort of abusive situations now. I would hope that maybe her perspective would not be the same about Nicole Simpson at this point. But then she also doesn't mention Monica Lewinsky by name, but then also does the same to Monica Lewinsky. And she gives actually a lot of benefit to Bill Clinton about how he acted greedily and without morals in this high office. But then because he didn't receive love, or he must have felt rejected in his childhood and he didn't have support, that is what caused him to act out greedily and pursue this relationship with Monica Lewinsky and do it on such a public stage. And so she gives him that sort of grace and like tries to understand why he did it. But then she does not offer that same grace to Monica Lewinsky, who we all know now is a victim of like a horrible abuse of power and circumstance here. And then she says, the young woman involved manipulates facts and details, ultimately prostitutes herself by selling her story for material gain because she is greedy for fame and money, and society condones this get-rich-quick scheme. Her greed is even more intense because she also wants to be seen as a victim. I was just shocked. It was just something where, like, to me, from my like 2022 lens, Monica Lewinsky, who could blame her for selling her story at a time when she was exploited, lost her job, probably didn't feel like she was going to get any sort of job anytime soon or be taken seriously. Like, why wouldn't she want to control her narrative in that situation and make money? And so just like the word prostituting herself, calling her greedy, but then also like insisting she's a feminist, I was just a little bit disappointed in Bell Hooks for that one. I know it's not like she needs my approval, and of course she's recently passed away, but just very disappointing. I think also, like I had said yesterday, there is a lot of like binary language in here, and I was really surprised to learn that Bell Hooks identified as queer, just because so much of this book is very heteronormative in the way that men and women interact with each other and react to each other. She makes space for talking about like single parents and, women banding together to raise children, but she never actually talks about like queer family structures or anything like that. And she does use a lot of very broad sweeping statements, very generalized statements of men will do this, women will do that. And There's not any sort of statistics or data to like back up these claims that she's making. Even when she will say things like, I talked to a woman who said XYZ, there's no specifics there. And like, I'm sure she did have these conversations, but just with how broad and sweeping all of the other statements she was making were, it almost makes it like less believable. And there are a lot of religious undertones in here. I usually read those things with like a grain of salt, honestly, but there are like lots of talk about like divine love and spiritual life. The whole last chapter is about angels, and I don't know, things like that kind of lose me sometimes. But I think that to encourage people to be open and loving of all people, like boxing them into religion and divine love is maybe not the way. All of that said, there are some great takeaways in here. I did end up underlining a lot, and there gave me a lot to think about and meditate on, but it definitely wasn't that 5-star vibe for me. And like I said, I would be very curious to know how differently this book would have turned out if it had been written more currently. I am going to go walk over to, I'm going to go to a restaurant and get a mimosa. I'm going to sit at the bar. I'm going to read this book. I think that it's a book that we'll read really quickly. Everything is broken up into like really quick paragraphs like this. So we're gonna read, hopefully Wolf naps, and then we're gonna go take a walk. I will take you guys along, and then I'll probably do a little outro in a little bit to end this weekend vlog. Good morning, everyone. It is now Monday. I just wanted to pop on here and film a quick outro for you and do my last update for this vlog. Yesterday was such an awesome day. It was so nice to spend so much time outside. Got to sit in a restaurant and have a mimosa at the bar. Did a lot of reading, which was really great. And then we took a nice long walk. We went to the farmer's market, which was the first one for the season. Ate so much food, walked back. We ended up walking like over 9 miles yesterday, so it was a lot of fun. And it was just so nice to like feel so celebrated and see so many other moms out there. And like someone gave me a rose, and it was just so sweet. So I had a really great day yesterday. And I also finished reading Linea Nigra by Jazmina Barrera. This book, so stunning. I took it to the bar with me, and then I was really sad because I forgot to bring a pen with me. Lately, I've been really into like underlining and annotating, especially for nonfiction books. And so I was like, okay, like I'll just make a mental note of all of the things that I want to underline later, and then when I get home, I will do that. And after reading like 10 pages, I was like, okay, fuck a pen. Like I would just honestly underline the entire thing. Linea Nigra, it's broken up into like 4 parts, I think, and it outlines her pregnancy, her birth and postpartum period, breastfeeding, basically everything that happens within like the first few months of becoming a mom. She's also talking about a lot of the books that she's reading, the articles, other writers that she admires, talking about their experiences with motherhood and pregnancy, and how it's written about and talked about and how it's not written about and talked about enough. There's like a particular passage that I really loved where she's talking about how every woman goes through this experience, and it's a little bit different each time, obviously, and nobody goes through exactly the same thing, but every person who has a child goes through pregnancy and birth and a postpartum period, but nobody talks about it openly, and honestly, it's still kind of taboo. And just how women talk about their own bodies, like menstruating, breastfeeding, childbirth, placentas, everything like that. We talk about it through a lens of like what men would want to hear. And it's just interesting to think about. I feel like I've been trying to talk about my birth experience and postpartum very openly and honestly, especially with the men in my life. I try not to have a filter around those things because it's not gross. It's not anything abnormal. It's just truly like a very human experience. So I particularly loved that passage. I think it was actually a highlight from something she was featuring from Ursula K. Le Guin. So loved that. And she talks a lot about art and, especially like Mexican artists that inspired her, her own mother who is an artist. And sometimes when writers start talking about like painters and artists, sometimes it like very quickly goes over my head, and this is not the case. She's very accessible in writing about art and what there is to appreciate about it and what inspires her, especially looking at the work of like Frida Kahlo and the portraits of Luz Jimenez. I just absolutely loved this entire thing. There is a blurb on the front from Rivka Gelchin that says, "I only wish it were a few thousand pages longer so I could have the company of its intelligence and poetry for all the phases of my life." And that's accurate. Like, I was actually sad when this is over. It is so honest, and it makes the whole process of motherhood feel so magical and grounded and connected. And that is exactly how I felt during my pregnancy, and something that I wished I had read while I was pregnant as well. Perfect book to read on Mother's Day. Absolutely beautiful collection of musings from that period in her life, and I really can't recommend it enough. It was an easy 5-star for me. So that is it for this vlog. I finished 2 books this weekend. So far in May, I have finished 5 books, which is like honestly unheard of for me. So I will see you guys in the next one. If you are new here, please subscribe. I appreciate every single person who watches these videos. I really sometimes feel weird still about like having a YouTube channel in general, but I just love talking about books so much and reading and having this outlet. So I'm going to keep making this content, and I hope you all enjoy it. Please feel free to like this video. Leave a comment down below with the flower bouquet emoji if you made it this far. I love hearing from you, and like I said, it gives me a confidence boost every single time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Happy reading and cheers.